I might be okay at video editing, but surely set design is not my strength because this is a basil plant and it's all I had and I wanted this to be as cute as possible and I don't know if I managed to do that. Hello people of the internet, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today's video, I guess, is a kind of long-awaited one because a few months ago I made a video all about how I edit for free, and in it I mentioned that there was still a lot more that I had to talk about and couldn't fit in that video, so I wanted to make a part 2. And now, quite a few months later, here I am, finally making a part 2. Sorry for the delay. If you haven't already watched my other video, I would highly suggest you go watch that first because I go over pretty much my entire editing process. But yeah, there were still some things that I didn't get to cover and I wanted to talk about that today. So without further ado, you may grab a notebook, some paper, maybe your laptop to take some notes, and let's get into it. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is editing softwares. I know when I was first starting out, this was kind of my biggest issue because free softwares were either free until you had to export your video and then you had to pay, or they were free but you had to have a watermark of the software in the corner of your video, which just isn't really professional. So the software that I used before switching over to Final Cut was Film Express, and actually I talked about this all in my last video. I just wanted to kind of refresh on this because I got a lot of comments saying that the software wasn't free and that you had to pay. You just have to make sure that when you go on the website to download it, you slide the little slider thing all the way until the $0 point, so that way when you download it you don't actually have to pay. I'll include a screen recording to kind of show you guys better, but yeah, make sure you do that because that's the only way to get it for free. And yeah, obviously if you get the free version you're not necessarily going to have access to all of the features, but the ones that you do have access to are really the only ones you need if you want to just learn about video editing and kind of start. So yeah, I would recommend Film Express if you're editing on Windows, which I was, and then if you're editing on a MacBook, I would recommend using iMovie. That just comes with any Mac device, because yeah, there's a lot of videos on it. I personally have never used iMovie except for when I was making little trailers on my phone and I was 10 years old, but there's a lot of videos on how to use it and I'll try to link some down below for you guys. And yeah, I would really recommend just kind of using that one because I know HitFilm sometimes doesn't really work well with a MacBook. So yeah, those are kind of the softwares that I would recommend. The next thing I'm going to talk about is music in your videos. Copyright-free music is pretty tricky sometimes. It used to be a really big struggle for me at first. It was honestly harder than finding a needle in a haystack, but now that I've done this for a while, I kind of figured out how to find the best copyright-free music for my videos. And the best thing is that you don't have to pay and you don't have to use the YouTube audio library music selection that is just really trash. So if you want to find good copyright-free music, I'm gonna suggest first of all Thematic, which is I guess a website, and you can pay for the pro version, but honestly I haven't used the pro version ever and it's been great. You basically just go through their whole library of songs, download the few ones that you like, and it automatically saves them to your own library. And then from there, when you decide to use a song in your video, it'll tell you to add the links of that song in the description. So that way you can automatically give credit to the artist, which I think is really important. So yeah, Thematic is really what I would recommend most for beginners, and I've used it for quite a while now and haven't had any issues. So that is the first option. And then if you're a bit more advanced, I would recommend using SoundCloud. Basically what I use SoundCloud for, or how I use it, is I'll watch somebody else's vlogs, for example, and if I notice a song that I like, I will scroll down to the description, and usually if the YouTuber is somewhat decent, they'll have the link to the song and the artist's SoundCloud. So from there I kind of go onto their profile, check out their songs, and if I see anything that I like, I can kind of assume that it's copyright free because another YouTuber used their video or used that song in their video, and then I can add those songs into a playlist that is directly on SoundCloud. I'll put a list of some artists that I found on there so that hopefully this can be helpful to you, but yeah, these are my go-to songs and go-to artists that I use for videos, especially vlogs. Just stopping on this very flattering frame of myself to point out the dust that is in my hair, and it's gonna be there for the next few clips, but I didn't want to have to refilm the whole video all over again, so yeah, that's great. Let's resume the video. And yeah, then also if you aren't really familiar with SoundCloud, you can also use YouTube and just type copyright free music. Again, just be careful with this one because you have to make sure it's actually copyright free, and you also like can find some pretty basic songs on there that might not be really original, so that's why I say you have to go down a rabbit hole and really like go deep into copyright free music side of YouTube. Now for the question that you're probably all asking yourselves, how do I know if a song is actually copyright free? Because I've been there where I've edited a whole video and I'm ready to post it and I've just put in a lot of time, and then I go to publish it and it's copyrighted and I have to change everything. So what I like to do, and I actually got this from Best Dressed, who also made a video all about editing a while ago, is I like to pretty much export the song as like a video and then publish that to YouTube in kind of like a private, just a private mode so that nobody else can see it. And you kind of just like publish it, wait for a while the video is on private, and then you see if the video gets copyrighted, and if it doesn't, then you can use that, but if it does, then you can already know and delete that song and kind of change it already. I'll have Editing Me put up a screen recording of how I do this. Thanks, Editing Me. But yeah, it can be kind of like complex to explain, but hopefully you get what I'm saying. And the simplest way to know if a song is copyright free is to contact the artist directly. A lot of time on SoundCloud they have their emails or their social media linked, so you can kind of DM them or email them directly from there. But personally, like, very few of them respond, so I kind of just do the whole like YouTube check thing to make sure it's not copyrighted. And also something I really wanted to talk about and insist on, please make sure that you give credit to the artist whose song you're using in your video, because just like you work hard on your videos, they work hard producing music, and it kind of just sucks if you're using their song and not letting anyone know what the song is or who made it, because yeah, they work hard for that. And if you want a starting point, you can just check out any of my videos. I always credit the artist in the description, so you can kind of check how I format that, and you can also check out their SoundCloud, so you can kind of maybe find music directly from there. Also, just wanted to add that I really recommend you have all of the links to the artist's social media and SoundCloud or whatever in the same Google document or in your notes on your phone, because that way you can just always have it ready and it just takes a lot less time to credit the artists. So I highly suggest you do that. Next thing I wanted to talk about is voiceovers and how you can do those without having a really fancy mic. And I actually think adding like voiceovers to your videos can add kind of like value and kind of make the video a bit more exciting. Even in a vlog, if I'm just doing a montage and I feel like it's getting a bit boring, adding a voiceover will make it a bit more interesting. So how you can do that is basically just record it on your phone. I don't really know how it works with Android for like recording voice memos on there, so I can't really talk about that, but for iPhone, I know obviously there's the voice memo app, and I would suggest honestly just recording your voiceover directly on there. Except if your like microphone is all broken, the quality is honestly really good, and you kind of just have to get used to it and practice. You don't want to be like super close to your phone, because otherwise we will be able to hear you breathe, and that is very annoying when you're watching a video. But you also don't want to be like super far away. And I know a tip I've heard of is some people like to put a sock over their microphone, and that kind of helps make the audio a bit more crisp. And then also obviously you want to make sure that you're recording where it's nice and quiet. I kind of just honestly go into my closet and try to put my phone like at a good distance, so that way the clothes around me can kind of absorb the sound, and also it's not really like noisy in my room, so that's good. Once the voiceover is recorded, you can email it to yourself or airdrop it if you can use that, and then when you put it in the editing software, you can kind of hear it and see if you need to record again or if you are alright with that take you got. And then I also adjust the volume, and I like to add background music so that way the voiceover isn't as like raw and it's kind of more natural in your video. And yeah, that's pretty much how I do those. Next, I wanted to talk about the sketches and little animations that I like to add in my videos, because I know that was an effect that I love watching in other people's videos, but I didn't really know how to use it myself. So here is how to do it if you're interested. You will need like a phone or maybe preferably an iPad, because you need something like to draw on, but you can just use your finger. You don't necessarily need to have an Apple Pencil or anything like that. I just happen to have one, which I use obviously. I'll put up the application name of the app that I use to do my sketches. It should be free, or at least it was when I like downloaded it. It's pretty self-explanatory, but you can just write the titles and whatnot that you want to include in your video. And then also, if you want it to move and kind of like be more of an animation, you're gonna want to go over the text like multiple times on different layers, and then you like download those as separate images, and then you put them one to one, like back to back, in your editing software. Once again, I'll have a like visual to explain this because it's kind of hard to just talk about, but hopefully you get what I mean. And if you're still confused, I'll have a video about it linked in my description, which is kind of really easy tutorial on how to use this app. And then if you want the text in your animation to be like fully written out, which I'll include an example of right now, what you're gonna want to do is basically screen record yourself while you write out the title, and make sure that the background of your text is black. And then once you go into your editing software, which, you know, might be Film, might be iMovie, or might be whatever, you're gonna want to add the blend mode to add, and then you can create a mask as well, which is in the effects section, and only select the area where the text is being written out. That way, technically, your background should be transparent and you should only have the text showing in your video and not like the whole app and the whole screen recording. For visual effects, I had a few questions about where I got those from, and I got all of mine for free just directly on YouTube, and you can screen record them or whatever. And then once you have that video, you add it over the like video of you talking, add it as a separate layer, and then you can select the proper blend mode in the little settings like section. For sound effects, I also find these directly on YouTube. You just type out cassette tape sound effect, or bottle cork, or mouse click, or whatever, and you can again screen record those and add the audio only in your video. And I think honestly it gets to a point where once you have all of these effects and you kind of use the same ones over and over again, you build this own library in your files of every single like effect that you might want to use, so that way you don't have to look them up every time. I quickly want to talk about fonts, and yeah, this is something I don't really see a lot of people talking about, but it's actually super important, and I think it really helps you like kind of set a brand for your channel. But this was like super hard for me to figure out at first, because how am I supposed to know the name of a font? Like, nobody's gonna say that in the description, and it's kind of like hard to find because you can't just like type lyrics. So the easiest way to find good fonts is to ask the person. So if you see me like using a font in my videos that you like, honestly just give me a DM or write a comment and I'll reply with like what the name is. And I know like when I first started, I was watching like all of these videos that use this font and I just could not find it for the life of me. So I straight up just DM'd a YouTuber and asked her like what was the name of the font, and she was super nice and replied to me. So if you're wondering, the font was Helvetica New, and it's pretty much a font that everybody uses. But because those can be kind of tricky to find, I suggest watching videos on YouTube of, you know, people's favorite fonts, and there's also a bunch of websites where you can go through a full-on like font library and find some that you like. And yeah, I'm also gonna put up right now some of the fonts that I like using the most, so that maybe you can like take a screenshot or take those in note and have them for future reference. I don't remember their names, so I like would give them to you right now, but I'll just have them on the screen for you to see. Okay, last thing I quickly want to talk about before my camera battery dies is thumbnails. And I actually used to dread making thumbnails so much. If you look at the evolution the evolution of the thumbnails on my channel, you'll see that they have changed a lot. And I mean, so has like my editing style, and I like to think that they've improved. Making a good thumbnail will take you a long time, but it is very worth it, because obviously the only way people can click on your video is if they're attracted to the thumbnail and or like title, but obviously the thumbnail has a lot to do with it. And if you kind of do those really quickly and don't really take the time to make nice thumbnails, then I can assure you like very few people will click on your videos, and that sucks because you'll have worked on a whole video that people don't click on just because the thumbnail isn't nice. So now that you know why they're really important, let me tell you how to do them and how you can kind of make the whole process a little bit easier for yourself. First thing that I'm going to tell you to do is you have to pose, okay? And this is really awkward because personally, like, I was not comfortable at first posing for a thumbnail, but I quickly figured out that if you wanted to have a good one, you needed to, or at least have like pictures ready. And I used to see thumbnails as a really big challenge, but now I kind of see it as more of a like fun challenge. Like, okay, how can I kind of sum up my whole video in a single image and make it like as aesthetically pleasing as possible? As for how I actually make my thumbnails personally, I'll go through like the video of me posing, which is pretty embarrassing to admit, but yeah, it's kind of awkward, but you gotta do what you gotta do. And yeah, in that, like, I'll choose kind of the best poses and export them as pictures. And then once I have the picture of like pretty much the plain thumbnail that I could use, I'm gonna adjust the color sometimes. I also can add text directly in the editing software, so that way the fonts that I use in my videos are the same that I use for my thumbnails. Once the picture of the thumbnail is done, what I like to do is I go on the app that I use for drawing up sketches in my videos, and I'll add sketches of the title or of little stars and kind of just cute things that I think would look good. And yeah, other than sketching titles and whatnot, another function that I like to use that's from that app is basically just like erase the background with the eraser on the like app, and that way you have a transparent background and you can kind of move yourself around and really be creative with it. So yeah, if I have a hard time finding a good thumbnail like idea, I'll just look up other people I watch on YouTube and kind of use their thumbnails as inspiration without like obviously just copying them. And I'm just gonna end the video by saying this. Honestly, editing is all about finding your own style and making like it your own. I think it's honestly what I love most about it is how creative it is, even though it might seem really like technical and straightforward, but there's so many ways that you can like switch up a video with the editing. If you want to be like really, I guess, type A and really organized about editing, you could even like take notes while watching other people's video and see, okay, that person used this transition, and actually I think that's something I might be able to recreate, so let me just like write that down, and then next time I edit I can kind of have that idea so that I can maybe spice up my video a little. And again, the more you edit, the more you'll get better, so really don't put a lot of pressure on yourself to be perfect for the first video that you edit. I know some people happen to be really good at their first video and you're like, okay, how are you not cringy? But hey, I mean, everybody has a different journey. If you watch my old videos, they're very embarrassing, but I like to think that I have grown from there and that hopefully I can, you know, pass on that knowledge through videos like this. So yeah, just don't put too much pressure on yourself to be really good at editing and really just an expert at YouTube when you're just starting out. It's normal not to be. Anyways, that is all that I wanted to talk about today. I really hope this was helpful and was like somewhat clear, because I know sometimes it can be hard to explain. And if there's anything that I didn't already talk about, feel free to comment that down below and I'll try to help as much as I can, or you know, just send me a DM and I'll try to be as clear as possible through my answer. And yeah, I really once again hope this was helpful. Feel free to share this video. Feel free to share this video if you think it might be helpful to someone. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it, and I will see you guys in my next video. Happy editing!